The old emperor Tiberius was dead. He died in March 37 AD. Many Romans did not like Tiberius. He had ruled for a long time. He was often gloomy and suspicious. Towards the end, he lived far from Rome. Under his rule, people felt scared, so his death brought relief. The Romans now hoped for a better future. The new emperor was Gaius Caesar, known as Caligula. Caligula means little soldier's boot in Latin. He got this nickname as a child. His father was Germanicus, a famous general. Rome welcomed Caligula with great joy. The city was full of celebrations. He was young, only 24 years old. Caligula's first actions were very positive. He pardoned many political prisoners and got rid of some unpopular taxes. Caligula continued to wow everyone. He paid out the money that Tiberius had left in his will. He also gave generous bonuses to the Praetorian Guard. This made sure they were loyal to him. He publicly burned the records of Tiberius's treason trials. This suggested that old fears were coming to an end. He started fixing important temples and building new aqueducts. These brought fresh water to the city, and of course he put on great games. There were exciting gladiator fights and chariot races. Caligula often went out in public and liked being with the people. He showed respect for Roman traditions and gods. The first few months felt like a honeymoon. He brought his mother Agrippina's ashes to Rome. He gave her a big public funeral. This show of family duty made the Romans believe he was a good man. Then, something changed in a big way. In October of 37 AD, Caligula got really sick. This was about 7 months after he started to rule. We don't know exactly what the sickness was. Writers from a long time ago say it was a bad fever. Maybe it affected his brain. The whole empire was worried. When Caligula got better, he was different. The cheerful, promising ruler seemed to be gone. He became suspicious and got angry easily. His behavior became more and more unpredictable. This sickness is often seen as the turning point. It marked the start of his dark reputation. Many historians believe this sickness changed him deeply. The hope that had filled Rome turned into unease. The stories about Caligula are shocking. Old writers like Suetonius tell us a lot about them. They say he was super cruel. He would make senators run for miles next to his chariot. People say he watched executions while he was eating dinner. He would throw people to the wild animals in the arena. There are also many stories about his private life. He was accused of having affairs with his sisters. After his favorite sister Drusilla died, he made her a goddess. Some stories say he turned his palace into a brothel. He married many times, often by taking women from other men. His spending got out of control. He built huge party boats on Lake Nemi. To pay for all this, he brought in new, heavy taxes. The rich people in Rome started to hate him. The infamous Incitatus, a horse in high office? Perhaps the most famous story is about his horse. The horse's name was Incitatus. This means fast or quick. According to Suetonius, Caligula really loved this horse. He gave Incitatus a marble stable. The horse had an ivory manger. It wore a collar set with precious jewels. It even had purple blankets, the color of emperors. But the story doesn't stop there. Caligula supposedly planned to make Incitatus a consul. A consul was one of the highest officials in Rome. This story is often used to show Caligula's madness. It suggests that he had no respect for the Roman government. True or not, the story of Incitatus is powerful. We need to be careful with these stories. Most of what we know about Caligula comes from just a few writers. Suetonius and Cassius Dio are the main ones. Another historian, Tacitus, also wrote about Caligula, but most of what Tacitus wrote about Caligula is now gone. These writers lived many years after Caligula died. Suetonius wrote about 80 years later. Cassius Dio wrote much, much later. Suetonius loved to write about people's lives. He included lots of wild stories and gossip. This means his stories aren't always fair and balanced. Maybe he picked the most shocking stories. A lot of the people who wrote this stuff were senators. Caligula treated the Senate very badly. This one-sided view makes it hard to know the real Caligula. Caligula's relationships with his family were complicated. He really loved his sister Drusilla. When she died, he was heartbroken. He made her a goddess, like a divine being, but he was cruel to other family members. He had his cousin, Ptolemy of Mauritania, executed. He also had his father-in-law, Marcus Junius Silanus, executed. He was afraid they were a threat to his power. His surviving sisters, Agrippina the Younger and Julia Livilla, also suffered. In the end, he accused them of plotting against him. He banished them to faraway islands. It's said his grandmother Antonia died because of his cruelty. Some people say she killed herself, or he might have poisoned her. His relationship with the Senate was terrible. He wanted to be an absolute ruler. He openly made fun of the senators. With so many enemies, Caligula's rule couldn't last long. People made several plans against him, most of them failed. But the unhappiness kept growing. Senators, knights, and even officers of the Praetorian Guard were involved. They were tired of his cruelty and how you never knew what he would do next. A final, successful plan was made. A key person in this was Cassius Dio. Dio was an officer in the Praetorian Guard. Caligula often insulted him. Dio wanted revenge. On January 24, 41 AD, the plotters attacked. Caligula was attending games near his palace. As he was walking through a quiet underground hallway, they attacked. Dio was one of the first to stab him. Caligula was stabbed many times. He died there in the hallway. He was only 28 years old. Caligula's rule was very short. It only lasted for 3 years and 10 months, but still, he's one of the most famous Roman emperors. He's remembered as a cruel and crazy tyrant. His name has become a symbol. It stands for using total power in a bad way. His story is a warning. It shows what can happen when one person has too much control. His rule also showed problems with the way emperors ruled. This system was created by Augustus. It showed how what an emperor was like could affect millions of people. If the emperor wasn't thinking clearly, Rome suffered. What happened after he died was also important. The Praetorian Guard picked the next emperor. This showed they were getting more and more power in the government. Stories about Caligula have really interested people for hundreds of years. His life has been the story in many books, plays, operas, and movies. He's still a character that people find spooky and interesting in today's stories and shows.